Ah, Paris, gay Paris, city of light. The mighty Eiffel Tower. The Arc de Triomphe. The Notre Dame Cathedral, before it burned down. The wonders of the Louvre. The timeless, enigmatic beauty of the Mona Lisa. All of these sites are considered must-sees if you are visiting Paris, which is why they are all packed with tourists. Everyone already knows about all these places, so why should I waste your time going on about them? I mean, by all means, be sure to see all of these things. They are all great and iconic sights to see if you are visiting Paris for the first time. But how many times do you look back and decide your favorite part of your trip was looking at that famous thing that's on the cover of your guidebook? How often do you look at the same thing as the throngs of other tourists and say, wow, what a unique and interesting experience I'm having here? So in the spirit of venturing beyond the well-trod tourist zone, why don't you join me on a journey to the outskirts of Paris, to the neighborhood called Montmartre, a charming French village tucked away in the corner of this sprawling metropolis, and home to the best view in the city. As with all good things, visiting Montmartre requires a little bit of work, which is what keeps most of the tourists at bay. If you are staying in the city center, this would mean you have to take a train or a bus. I would recommend the train, as the Paris Metro works just fine and gets you right where you need to go. To take the Metro, however, you will need to do a little bit of research into the nearest metro station and whether it's on a line that will take you to the Montmartre area. This is plenty easy if you have any kind of smartphone with a map application on it. Failing that, feel free to try to decipher this map, or just buy a phone like everyone else in the world. Don't let the map scare you, by the way. I promise it's easier than it looks. For me, it was especially easy as I was staying at an Airbnb which was within walking distance of the Notre Dame Cathedral, which has a metro station on the same line that will take you right to Montmartre. So the four of us, my brother Mark, my mother, my girlfriend Megan, and your main man Steve McTravel, all headed down the many flights of stairs into the Saint-Michel Notre Dame station, where we waited for our train. Despite my mother being confounded by the abstract renditions of benches they had in the metro station, we found that our train arrived in a timely fashion. The ride from the Saint-Michel Notre Dame station to the Barbès Rochechouart station in Montmartre took no more than 15 minutes, and before we knew it, we were somehow surrounded by more locals than tourists. From there, it was a relatively short walk, about 10 to 15 minutes, to the Sacré-Cœur Basilica, which sits upon a hill looking over the city. This walk can be shorter and easier if you walk from the metro station to the Montmartre funicular that you can ride up the hill rather than walking. I'm sure my mother would have appreciated knowing this information before making the trek uphill, so I made sure not to tell her when I found out. But if she can make the hike uphill, I assure you, you can too. Once you arrive at the Sacré-Cœur Basilica, you are immediately treated to a pretty grand view of Paris laid out before you. But the real view requires a greater sacrifice. As the Sacré-Cœur Basilica is a Catholic church, it only rewards you after a certain amount of pain and torment. Other than that, though, entry to the basilica is free, which is more than I can say for most of the other famous churches in Paris. So after looking around inside briefly and spying on some solemn nuns, we made our way to the very top of the basilica. Now I'm not going to lie to you folks, the hike up is arduous and disifying. Especially arduous if you are out of shape like I am, of course, but I'm going to generalize and say that the winding stairs will give you a heavy dose of vertigo no matter what kind of shape you're in.
Are you videoing this?
Oui.
I hate you so much.
The stairs then let you out onto some ramparts, which then lead you to more stairs, and it starts to feel like some kind of MC Escher purgatory, but I promise you, the stairs do eventually end, and the view is worth it. That's a Steve McTravel guarantee. Now I know the old adage about beauty being subjective and all that bullshit, but I just don't see another view of Paris beating this one. You got the whole city right out there in front of you. You can take an elevator up to the top of the Eiffel Tower, which sounds nice, but you know what you won't see from up there? The Eiffel Tower. Here you get it all and then some. And this isn't even the end of the charms of Montmartre. In fact, it's only the beginning.
Grand bonheur qui prend sa place, des ennuis, des chagrins s'effacent, heureux, heureux, à en mourir. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, qu'il me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose.
After climbing down the steep steps, you are free to enjoy the rest of Montmartre, which is just slathered in wall-to-wall small-town charm. The hustle and bustle of metropolitan Paris is gone, and you find yourself walking down pedestrian-friendly streets full of shops, cafes, and creperies. In its heyday, Montmartre was a haven for artists from around the world, with household names like Pablo Picasso and Vincent van Gogh hanging around and doing artist stuff, like painting and shooting morphine. It was also inhabited by many other artists who people smarter than I am have certainly heard of. If you know of any of them, be sure to leave a comment explaining what a Philistine I am. After strolling around for a bit, feel free to stop at a cafe and relax while drinking the beverage of your choice as slowly as possible. Hanging around cafes is kind of a way of life in Europe, so enjoy it. Wait until the sun starts to go down before continuing on, so you can experience the splendor of Montmartre as the streetlights come on. This, my friends, is what Paris is all about. Walking the cobbled streets at night like you're in an art film directed by a European sex offender. This must be that joie de vivre I read about in the in-flight magazine. Montmartre may not be the flashiest corner of Paris, but I honestly found it to be the most enjoyable. If I had to choose any part of Paris to live in, this would be it. It's not exactly a well-kept secret, as any guidebook would probably recommend it, but just by being a little off the beaten path, it easily dissuades about 90% of other tourists from finding it. And that, Madame and Monsieur, is worth the journey. So goodbye, dear friends, or as they say in Paris, je ne parle pas anglais.
Did he get it right? Did he get it right? Is it perfect? Is it perfect yet? I don't know. I think he's contemplating. I think he's thinking, nope, no, he's trying it again. Going for it again. Go up, get it. Get it just right. You gotta get it. It's your new profile picture. Leonardo da Vinci painted this. Said it would be your profile picture someday, dude. I hope you get it. I hope you get that sweet. Oh, he's moved. He did it? Did he do it? Mission accomplished? I think he did it. Congratulations, sir.